So maybe you've heard recently about the news that Pacquiao is going to perhaps fight Mayweather again. Those two guys are going to go at it. And it's obviously an anticipated fight in the sport of boxing because it's two of still the biggest names in the sport. And obviously both men are past their prime, not what they used to be. And the first fight didn't live up to the hype of what it was supposed to be. A lot of Pacquiao said he had an injury. He probably did. And a lot of people feel like Mayweather could have done more. And, it's easy to be Monday morning quarterback and say they should have done that, they should have done this. And I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to tell you the reality and what my professional opinion is about how this fight number 2, if it does happen, will play out. There's some talk that Mayweather's looking to do a tune-up fight. Let's see who that turns out to be. In my opinion, he shouldn't take on too strong of an opponent for this tune-up fight, so he doesn't expend too much of himself getting ready for what perhaps will finally be the last fight of his career, maybe. And to be clear, too, I want to make it clear, I'm not a Pacquiao fan. I'm not a Mayweather fan. I extremely respect the two men as fighters, and they're obviously A-plus level talent, and the two best of their generation, and Mayweather is the best of his generation. But I don't own a TMT hat, and I don't own whatever stuff it is that Pacquiao sells. I'm a boxing coach, and I look at it from that perspective. I'm not emotional about it, and it's easy with the fans and with people that are really passionate about these two athletes for them to let passion blind them, and because they hope so much that somehow one guy will win, and it throws off what is probably the actuality or the reality. With the last fight, like I said, it didn't live up to the hype. People thought it was going to be a shootout war, and the fact of the matter is that Mayweather, like him or not, he's a great boxer. And a great boxer doesn't always mean you're exciting. It's at the end of the day, it's who lands more clean and effective punches. And Mayweather did that with the first fight. Sure, you can say Pacquiao ran forward more and maybe threw more punches, but if boxing was that dumb of a sport, no one would really care to watch it. And I know I wouldn't be a fan of it anymore, even though I like exciting fights. I grew up on that, watching old school exciting fights. That's what my thing was, and that's what I was coached on how to fight. It was like a Mike Tyson type style. But let's face it, if you have two fighters and one guy runs at the other guy and the other guy moves away, what's going to determine who the winner is who lands more punches, clean, effective punches. And if this guy running at the other guy isn't landing clean, effective punches, and this guy moving away is landing effective punches, he's the winner. Fact of the matter. It should be just who runs their face into more punches, but they're still coming forward, that determines who's the winner. That's a dumb sport, and any pundit or sports broadcaster that says, oh, how can you win a fight moving backwards, doesn't know anything about boxing, they've never watched boxing before from truly a knowledgeable base. They've never cornered a fighter or got up the ring themselves and experienced and been around boxing in its truest sense to understand the sport and how it works. In its essence, it is a simple sport. It's who lands more punches. Doesn't matter if you're moving away or moving towards. Things like ring gentlemanship and aggression apply to if the fight is super, super close or even. But Mayweather did land more punches. It's a fact of the matter. And Pacquiao did not. And you could say it's because of his injury, and that's fine. It may have been. With this fight coming up, I'm going to give you my professional analysis and prediction of how it's going to go. This fight coming up is going to be pretty much like how the last one was. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to hype it up for you. Everyone else is going to hype it up for you. Everyone else is going to talk about how, oh man, Mayweather's going to come out guns blazing or Pacquiao's going to change his approach. Fact of the matter is, both guys are pretty much set in their ways. And Mayweather was a more versatile fighter when he's younger, but as he's gotten older, he's adopted one specific style. Even against McGregor, he sat back quite a bit in the beginning to get comfortable, let the other man tire himself out a little bit and get his timing, and then walked him down, took him out of there, because obviously McGregor, in boxing terms, is very low on the totem pole, definitely nowhere near the level of Pacquiao. With someone who is a higher level, like Pacquiao, the two guys are A-plus fighters, Mayweather's going to play it safe. He's going to watch the clock, he's going to score a couple more shots than his opponent does, and he's going to work on preserving himself. And to be clear, again, like I said, I'm not a big Mayweather fan. I respect the man huge as a boxer, but he's going to protect himself. And at the end of the day, isn't that what you would want for your child or your friend or your family member or your fighter if you're a coach, or for yourself, is to come out of a sport safer than not damaged. Pacquiao's been knocked unconscious, and that's not good for your health. Sure, it's exciting for the fans, but I believe, and personally my perspective as a coach, is don't die in the ring trying to give the people what they want to see. You are a human being at the end of the day, and it is your life that matters, and that's far more important than the entertainment of a sport, because let's face it, it is just entertainment. Boxing is an amazing, beautiful sport and extremely challenging, and can grow somebody from being an unconfident person to a confident person and change their lives and inspire the masses to change their lives and positively impact other people. But at the end of the day, it is a sport. It's not real life in the sense that it's not worth dying for. It's truly not. And as a fighter, you might have to have a different perspective, but at the very least, your coach needs to have a different perspective. And Mayweather people do. They want him to come out preserved and not damaged, like we've seen so many champions come out at the end of their career. They fought too long in too hard of fights, and they took too many shots. With this fight, Mayweather's going to stick to his plan. By the way, someone still owes me money for the last Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I don't bet on fights, but they insisted that I bet them on a fight because they thought Pacquiao was going to win. They were so certain that Pacquiao had the keys to unlock the Mayweather code. I told them that's not going to be the case. It's easy to get emotional about boxing. I'm not emotional about boxing. It's a sport. It's cut and dry. You win or you lose. Just because you like one guy more, you like his style more, doesn't mean he's going to win. It's how the styles match up. It's like Eddie Futch, who is arguably one of the greatest coaches in the sport, said that it's all about the styles versus style. That's what creates a fight, and that's what you have to coach upon, is how this style matches up against this style. And by the way, Eddie Futch coached two fighters that beat Ali in his prime, Joe Frazier and Ken Norton, two guys that fought pretty different styles, and they used two different strategies to beat Ali in his prime. And that's why Eddie Futch is a great coach, because he knew that this style and this style would beat the style of Ali, and broke the code for it. But let's face it, Mayweather is a tactician. You can't argue his technique and his level of reflexes and his skill, even as an older man in the sport. And he's going to catch Pacquiao coming in. Pacquiao, you can't say, has great defense. His defense is his offense and his footwork, things that decline with age. Mayweather has that solid foundational base, and his level of skill, I would argue, is a little bit higher, at least in the defensive way, than Pacquiao. Pacquiao's an offensive master. Mayweather's a defensive master. And as guys like that get older, the defensive master tends to do a little bit better anyway. We saw it play out in the first fight, but I think maybe it would play out even more that way in this next fight. And even if Pacquiao is 100% with his arm, it's just the fact of the matter. Pacquiao has a little bit more of a reckless style, and that's why he got caught against fighters that are counterpunchers. That's why Marquez caught him in their last fight, is because of that reckless style. And we saw how it played out when Marquez fought Mayweather. Marquez isn't that reckless, but Mayweather was able to get his timing and counter him effectively. Just the fact of the matter. So this Mayweather-Pacquiao fight 2, if it does come off, mark my words, you heard it here first, it's going to be pretty much how the last one was, with Mayweather inking out a decision and Pacquiao doing his best and trying to give the fans what they want to see. But at the end of the day, Mayweather's concerned with one thing. Well, two things. He's concerned with the money he's making off the fight, and he's concerned with his health. Pacquiao's concerned about the money he's making off the fight and maybe trying to give the fans what they want to see. And you got to respect both men and appreciate both men for what they've done for the sport. Both men have benefited the sport. Pacquiao's brought so many crossover fans. Mayweather's brought so many fans, crossover fans again, from all over the sports arena. Honestly, because people want to see him finally lose and lose that O, most of them, but also fans that are really appreciative of his style and how he fights and the level of professionalism he's brought to the sport. I know he's inspired a lot of fighters of the upcoming generations to be a little bit more defensively minded, to not be brawlers, to be a little bit more concerned with trying to not get hit. And as we progress with more and more research on the danger of concussions and even subconcussive injuries, I believe that's something that becomes more and more important with the sport, of any sport that's a combat sport of any nature. So let's see what happens with the fight, but that's my unemotional and professional opinion. If you like this video, you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click that like button and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, click like and share.